How's it going, everybody? Dottodoy here, back with a huge Dragon Ball FighterZ video for you all today, because very recently we got our hands on the leaked edition of V-Jump and now have access to the full visuals and information for UI Goku. Now, if you've watched some of these V-Jump videos before in the past from me specifically, the first thing you're going to notice about this time around is we have a whole ton of information to go through. Normally, if we received a page like this, that would be about it for FighterZ, but this time around we actually got 2 pages of information almost exactly like this, with this being the first page and this being the second. Yeah, that's a lot of information. And I'm not going to lie to you, once we reach that second page, it's gonna get really confusing real fast, because not only is that just a ton of information with the limited translations we have on us right now, but UI Goku is also just a very, very technical character apparently. This is going to be a character you spend a lot of time in the training mode, at least with that one system that we will talk about a bit later. As for now, let's just stick to this first page and go over some of the amazing visuals we see here. Up top, we either get a very good shot of something late in his intro or perhaps his victory screen. It could go either way on those things, but down below we have an amazing shot that I really want to know what that photo's from, because man, that is a lot of high quality. But for a character like UI Goku, I wouldn't be surprised to see that as, like, I don't know, maybe something like a DBS Broly auto combo. Perhaps that could be, you know, something like Goku's auto combo. They've started to implement more of those things in actual gameplay as we've gone further down the line in DLC, so it wouldn't surprise me to see a shot of something like that quality not being regulated to just a super. Once we pass that photo, I guess we can finally cover the elephant in the room here, Goku UI's stats. Now, it is important to note here, as always, these stats are mostly just the developers trying to hype you up on the character or tell you what their intention was for the character, but these stats usually don't mean anything at all in terms of how good a character is actually going to be once the character actually drops in the real world. But I will say, regardless of all of that, it is very clear they wanted UI Goku to feel and look very strong, so this man has double S's across the whole board. Once we get past that though, we see another standard shot of one of Goku's basic melee counters. We've seen that in the trailer. He's just going to go behind Jiren there, potentially do a counterattack, although that is not confirmed as of just yet, but I could definitely see something like that happening. And then moving on down to the bottom of the page, we see another counter that could potentially be a super. That's the one thing I'm not very clear on. If it is a super, it is most likely Guidance of Instinct, aka just a counterattack super. And if it looks a little weird in this screenshot, I'm not entirely sure why they chose to depict it like this, but I'm pretty positive this is supposed to be like the twirl thing he did on Toppo, I believe, in the Tournament of Power. So hopefully that looks a little better in motion. As of right now, it looks a little still just from the picture, but yeah, I can see that looking way better in motion. And then we have another one of Goku's supers in which he jumps up, fires a beam downwards, and then it looks like he rushes in afterwards. And from the translation, this appears to be Flight Spirit Rush, Uncompleted Instinct, attacks from behind, and can do additional attacks. So still very unsure about these 2 moves in general. Don't take that for 100% guaranteed. Those could be other supers this is referring to, but I do believe it is these 2. But for right now, that's about the most I can get from this page right here. And now for page 2, I do very quickly want to show you the page of translations I'm going to be reading from, and kind of why it's going to be so difficult to get fully conclusive evidence on what this stuff is. But I did get this list over on Twitter from DBS Hype. I will link that tweet down below in the comment section, where I believe he links somebody else that gave him the translations. But from what I understand, it was fully assembled by him, so thank you very much, dude. And number 2, the reason why I was very unclear about some of those other supers on the other page, if they are supers, is the fact that very frequently some of these moves are called specials and supers. Sometimes it can be switched out here and there. So I'm actually not sure if these are all supers or just specials. They mostly look like just normal special moves, so I'm going to assume they all probably are. But yeah, we'll also get into some more stuff that makes this all very complicated. But let's take it from the top left, go all the way to the bottom right, and just explain as much as we can along the way. So this first special attack is called Quick Fighting Spirit, and the description is: a second after recovery from an opponent's attack, Goku moves in front of the opponent and attacks immediately. So I do believe this might actually be Goku's standard counterattack, where he goes in front and then immediately punches them back. That would make a lot of sense. Again, that isn't necessarily confirmed from this image, but I do think with the wording of how it's recovery after opponent's attack, that it is the most likely outcome. The only thing pointing against that is that Goku does attack from the front when his counter specifically moves him behind the opponent. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen something like that in the game, but it probably would look a little silly if Goku dodges behind them only to punch them in their face. But I'm actually down for whichever option they choose to go with. The second square is a lot easier to decipher because we've actually seen this in use in the trailer. This move is called God Super Performance, in which Goku moves towards the opponent with high speeds and attacks countless times, and could be an additional attack. I'm not entirely sure what the last line is referring to, but we do know how this move works. It can be done in neutral, and at least when you EX it, we really can see the move is at insane speeds, almost looks unreactable in an actual match. But yes, after Goku passes through the opponent, they are then met with a flurry of attacks, which you can probably then combo off of. The third square here is Fist of No Mind, and it's continuous punches with super high speed, but this move can only be used in the air. So again, this is really going to come down to how this special actually works, whether or not it's something you can just throw out, which I probably think it is. So in the air, Goku might have access to some sliding knockdown. We can kind of see the way Jiren is reacting here, that he probably will go into a sliding knockdown sort of state. Hopefully that's the case, because having options like that in the air is always preferable to not having them at all. That's kind of something that made Jiren initially so weak upon his reveal in Season 2. The first square down in the middle is called Single Hit of Godspeed, in which you jump forward and with an upside down state, you attack your opponent, and if guarded, you will move before the opponent. So hopefully that means this move is plus, in which case, very, very good for pressure. Obviously, you would love to be plus and continue your turn afterwards, but this is actually our first move, in which you can see A and B clearly listed above the move, which is where things start to get complicated. So let's talk about what A and B actually mean in this case. In the translation, it's listed as Clear Sense, which is a move technique moving forward from a jump that can be changed from A, question mark, while moving can derive B. So here's my best interpretation on what this possibly could mean. A is when you press a button on the ground, it will change to a Clear Sense sort of mode that is listed in the translations. So I think A might be entering some sort of stance or effect, something about the character that changes the moves that come after it. Now, whether or not Clear Sense will have some moves all to its own is unknown, as we don't see any moves listed here with just A, but I could definitely see that being the case. And B is listed as when activating Clear Sense and pressing this button, it can be derivable, which I assume means it can change the outcome of the move. It's also listed down here that you can change super attack like A, change Clear Sense B. It will release various special moves. So if nothing else, and all of the things I say after this end up being completely wrong, and I will admit I'm not entirely sure how any of these following moves are going to work completely, but just know UI Goku will most likely be a somewhat technical character that requires at least a little bit more time in training mode to fully understand the specials and when you should use them and what stuff is good and what stuff isn't. But let me give you my best guess on how this system works. So like I said before, A is like activating Clear Sense on the ground, and then it appears when you jump forward or when you click B, changes the move you do, and we can kind of see that in the three moves listed here with both A and B. The first one is an upside down punch that specifically states jumping forward. The second one just shows you standing on the ground neutrally, and the third one shows you jumping back and then clicking B. It also adds that this third hit does have a little bit of invincibility on the move, which is nice to see. So could that mean that if you jump forward and then activate B, which is Clear Sense, you'll get that hit? If you stay on the ground and click B, you'll get those orbs, which by the way, that's called Feeling Bomb. When you set Ki Blast in the air and attack, cannot be guarded. I don't know what cannot be guarded means. Hopefully that's just a mistake on the translator's part, because cannot be guarded sounds not fun to wake up to. But we'll definitely have to see how that works. But Feeling Bomb, definitely an interesting move. Looking forward to using that one. And the third one is called Intuition Inspiration, which is countless attacks while going backwards. Again, that is officially mentioned in these translations. There is an invincibility staple for this attack, which we already covered. If you speak Japanese, please feel free to leave a comment down below, especially if you play the game yourself. Help me out on this one. I will fully admit I have no idea, but I do think that might be an interesting sort of mechanic where if you're jumping forward, you get this move, neutral, that move, backwards, the other one. The other thing to note is that we don't actually have a translation for what this counter here is on the bottom left. It definitely doesn't look like the counter we saw Goku do in a very similar situation, so it must be a different sort of special altogether. But yeah, don't have a translation on that one, so that's completely up in the air. The Kamehameha one we actually do though. Kamehameha B, so this is with the system, but it is only B and not AB, so that is also very confusing and kind of throws off my theory a little, but you know, hopefully it works similar. But you know, hopefully it does work in a similar fashion. So anyway, Kamehameha B releases a blast from the air and attacks downward, and you can use a command to change the jump direction. Usually stuff like that where you can change jump in directions are very good for mix-ups, so be on the lookout for this one. Maybe it could be something you see when the opponent is getting off the ground. It might be a tool UI Goku uses there. The third and final square we're going to cover here is called High Heat, and you probably know it from the show. This is like UI Goku's roar. You can tell from the aura. This is a heat of Ultra Instinct, but it releases an attack upward and it's invincible when activated. So this is definitely something of a DP, and it has to be easily the best looking DP in the game. That is an amazing looking move, and I'm definitely going to be spamming that when getting off the ground. Okay, but that's it for all of the special moves, and now we can finally cover something that is just plain hype. Not saying the rest of the stuff wasn't. I'm actually very excited to test all that stuff, but there is a degree of chance that I was completely wrong on most of that stuff. This last one is something you can't be wrong of, and it's the best looking level 3 in the game. It's UI Goku's Rush against Jiren. I won't forgive somebody that hurts my friends. Oh, hold on, that's not what the actual move is called, but it should be. If it it comes into English and the official name is Nobody Should Hurt My Friends or something like that, that would be amazing. But this move is actually called Flash of Silver Dragon. You move to punch, and when hit, it will release an attack and Kamehameha. Now you might be saying, where? I don't see a Kamehameha. But it's important to realize that whole thing is the Kamehameha. It is a full giant, takes up the entire screen Kamehameha. Oh man, that's my favorite level 3 already. I don't even need to see it in motion to know that this is my favorite level 3 in the game. Overall, guys, that's going to be the entire scan. Remember, it's probably going to be in the comments, and I said it ad nauseum throughout the video, but don't take everything in that last segment for sure. If we do end up getting a full in-depth English translation by somebody that plays the game, I would definitely trust that over what I said here. That'd be way more advantageous. And if you do see any info like that, I will continuously try to update the pinned comment, but feel free to leave comments down below, and I will heart those and try to get them up as well. But also down below, just let me know if you're hyped for Ultra Instinct. I really do want to see some of those comments as well. And let me know, out of all of these moves, which one do you think looks the best? While you're down there though, do make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you're hyped for UI Goku and want to stick around and keep up to all the updates with the game and see some of the other videos we make here on the channel, and check out some of the other videos on your screen as well if they catch your eye. I have been Dr. Doya, and I will see you in the next video.